This is the Live Well and Thrive podcast, hosted by Michael Torchia, health and wellness expert. It's time to shape up, America.
All right, it's Mike Torchia, and welcome to Live Well and Thrive. I have a very special guest, a very dear friend of mine, Joanne Horowitz. She's an esteemed talent agent. She has really been, a powerhouse in Hollywood, and most of all, a dear friend. And she's going to share with you some fun stories that we've experienced together in some of the projects, and what she's currently doing with this play about Studio 54 that'll be on, I guess, Broadway,
yes,
right?
Definitely on Broadway.
So, Joanne, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike. It's good to see you.
Great to see you, too.
Again.
We saw each other at Craig's.
We saw each other at Craig's last week.
Yeah.
And then Mike invited me on the show, but we're also supposed to have dinner next week too. So
that's for sure.
100%. Yeah. We're going to do that also. But it was great to see him with a bunch of friends. We have so many friends in common. It's so crazy, right?
And we had some of the other powerhouse people in
yes.
Hollywood too.
Yes. Like I didn't know you knew my friend Jeff Wallner, and you've done business with Jeff. Right? They financing movies and whatnot, right?
Yeah, and Dave Palemi from BMG.
Yes, exactly.
Great guy.
Yeah, great guy. That was my first time meeting him.
Frank Stallone.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, I know Nick forever, like you did Frank.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know since my Studio 54 days.
Yeah.
And then Jeff was my first time, but I thought he was a great guy.
Oh, complete gentleman.
Yeah, just really sweet, down to earth.
Yeah, very charismatic.
Yeah.
So
right?
I want to hear about the play, the Studio 54 play.
Well, okay. So, I did work at Studio 54 in the heyday of Studio 54. Now, the heyday of Studio 54 was going back to 1977, and that's when I was there. And believe it or not, there was a lot of drugs and decadence back then. I was the only person, I don't know if I was the only person, but I was definitely one of a handful of people that never smoked, drank, or did drugs. To this day, by the way. But yes, never smoked, drank, or did drugs. And, I was offered everything to get in the club because it was very hard to get into. So people would offer me cocaine and downers or whatever. I would take vinyl back then. I would take all the vinyl from all the record companies. I would take backstage passes. I made deals with limousine services that if I bought celebrities to their limousine service, I would get free limousines in return, which I did often. But I never did the drugs. And I had access to unlimited drink tickets. But being my first job out of school, I did their PR, I did their celebrity wrangling, so to speak, if you want to call it that, the very first to do it, and parties. And so I was making a lot of money at a very young age, but I also remember everything because I wasn't doing drugs. So the fact that it was my first job, I saved every newspaper clipping, every magazine clipping, every invitation, anything that was interesting. And the invitations were so unique back then. And I saved them. I put them in my mom's basement, So I'm the only person, aside from Ian Schrager, who owned it, that have the archives from Studio. So, and I have a memory. So my friend Bob Greenblatt, who used to be head of HBO and most recently head of HBO through the pandemic. Before that, he ran Showtime, and before that, he ran NBC. He was head of NBC. And Neil Marin, who's produced Smash, the TV series, and a lot of other TV shows. He was doing those musicals at Christmas time. I think he did Pirates at Penzance that was on TV.
Oh, yeah.
He produced all that stuff. So then he started to get into Broadway. So he did Some Like It Hot. He did Some Like It Hot, which on last year. It's touring now. And he did How to Succeed in Business with Daniel Radcliffe. And most recently, they had Smash on Broadway. And they invited me in to be a producer on the Studio 54, the musical.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's going to be for Broadway. We do have our director, we do have our writer, and for Broadway, it's a book as opposed to a script. And so my friend Chad Hodge, who is a showrunner in his own right, he's right now working on a show with Phoebe Waller. What's her last name? The woman from Fleabag. That actress, she's so amazing. So he's shooting a show there, writing and producing a show there in the UK. But he also did a show with Michelle Dockery called Bad Behavior, and he just had a script that he wrote that Zac Efron just wrapped filming as the lead. So he's very prolific in his own right, but he loves Studio 54. So he is writing the book, so to speak, on Studio. It should be ready, the first draft, to see, like, hopefully this month is what we're hoping.
And you'll be able to add that little personal.
Oh yeah,
right?
well he's interviewed me many times too.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and absolutely. So there's that, and then we're not sure yet, but I don't think I think we don't have enough time to really open next year because you have to do your raise,
Right.
financial raise, which we have a lot of people lined up for that. But then you want to make sure the show is right, and then but the 50-year anniversary of Studio 54 is in 2027. So it might be that we do the play for April 2027, might be our target date, because that's the 50-year anniversary. We can do a lot of branding and whatnot around.
Maybe do an event or something to kick
A
it
lot.
off.
Well, they are definitely depending on me to rally the crowd for the opening night, for sure. Yeah. And, I always have that in me. I'm always good at helping people get a good crowd somewhere.
So tell me something. How did you get the position as a publicist for that incredible studio?
I really don't understand, except it was timing. So I was just out of school. I was a lowly secretary at Universal Pictures. Back then, they didn't hire women for those jobs, right? Yeah. So I was a secretary. And back then, I had to take shorthand to even qualify to get in the door for the job, right? You had to take shorthand and know how to type. So I had this job, and I get asked out on a date by this guy, Neil Schlesinger, who, it was a nice-looking guy back then. We go out on a date, and he says, you need to come to where I work. I work in Long Island, Queens, Long Island, at a place called the Enchanted Gardens, and my bosses, Steve Rebell and Ian Schrager, own it, and they're opening a club in the city in 6 weeks, and we're going to go dancing and check out all the clubs downtown, and I want to show you the space. So I was like, great. So I go to work with him. The place is kind of like the precursor to Studio because there were some, transsexuals even back then, or men dressed up as women back then. It was a real party place. And so after work, I went with Ian and Steve and Neil. We went to this place called Infinity downtown. We went to this place called Les Jardins and all these places. And then they take me to Studio. And I said, listen, I get Celebrity Bulletin at work, which back then, it tells you where the celebrities are, right? And back then, no one had alias names. It was a much kinder, gentler time, right? So if you send me a stack of 200 invitations, I'll send them out to the celebrities that are in town. So they sent me the 200 invitations. And on Universal Stationery, I wrote letters to the celebrities. It was, everyone from John Kennedy Jr. to Cher to, Henry Winkler was doing a movie in town at the time, sent to him. And then at the bottom, I still have all the letters that I wrote, right? And I would put, if you're coming, please call me at this number. I'll hook you up with drink tickets, all that stuff. Everybody called. Wow. I mean, it just happened to be that they called. And so I took care of them. I would meet them at the door. I would bring them in. I would get them drink tickets. And I had access to unlimited drink tickets back then. And that first night, the opening night, Cher was on the cover of the New York Post the next morning, and from an invitation that I sent out, right? And so Ian said to me, you need to come work for us. Come work for us. We'll make a deal. So I did. I stayed at my job for another 3 months or so because I was getting the celebrity bulletins every day. And then I left. And, I never got paid a weekly salary. It was all money I had to generate. So I had to go hustle. So I had to hustle to get the celebrities in. I had to hustle to get the parties, and I had to hustle to do the PR, and I succeeded very well at all.
Very good at that.
Very well at all three of them. And, I definitely take, people say this to me all the time, but I do take credit if I hadn't been where I had been when the club opened up and I hadn't brought that celebrity component to it because they had no idea what they were doing either back then. Might never have been what it ended up being.
You're right. It's the timing.
Yeah,
Everything
right?
at the right moment.
Right?
I remember when I had gone to Studio 54 is when I was working with a client. I was doing some private training and bodyguard work for him.
Ah,
And he said to me, I want you to come with me to the club after our workout. So he said, put a suit on. Right?
okay,
That's how he was. And, well, you'll probably know who he is, Roy Cohen, the attorney.
oh God.
Okay,
Yes.
So he introduced me to Steve.
Oh my Lord! Did you train Roy Cohen?
Yeah. So
You're kidding me.
Yeah,
In between his tanning sessions,
Yeah.
he had a tanning bed in his
it's
office.
Pretty crazy. So anyway, so he introduced me to Steve Rebell.
He was their lawyer.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so that's how whenever I go,
Wow.
I had carte blanche when I go in there. But it was incredible. There were no cameras. Nobody cared.
Yeah, nobody
It
cared.
was Switzerland,
Right. Right.
You know?
You could do whatever there, and people were.
Up in the bleachers?
Yeah, up in the bleachers. I remember once I saw Nick Nolte and his wife doing it in the bleachers at Studio 54.
Yeah. Oh, in the bathroom all the time.
Oh my God. Oh, the bathrooms were, what they are again now. They're, open to anybody who wants to go.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was pretty. But people were cool about it. It's not like today. People, I want a selfie.
Yeah,
Nobody
right.
cared,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, you didn't have. First of all, the paparazzi had to be invited in. Okay, they couldn't just come in, and not everybody was a paparazzi. There were plenty of paparazzi, but not like today. If anybody has a camera, can set up a studio in the back of their truck or whatever, and sell pictures all over the world. But back then, it wasn't like that. And by the way, it would be on the Post the next morning. It could be on the front of the Daily News the next morning. But to get it to show up, let's say in Japan or China or something, it would be 6 months later you would see those pictures show up because it didn't travel like things travel now.
And the history of that club is because from what I learned is it was the old Captain Kangaroo studio.
Yes.
And it was Studio 54.
Yes.
And that's how it got that way.
Yes.
And because people have asked me, and I said, well, I asked that same question.
It started off at Captain Kangaroo, and then it was the Ed Sullivan Theater. All the Ed Sullivan
so
shows
the
happened
history-
there, right?
the history
of that place.
It's
right?
magical, right?
Right?
But, when it was so funny, I remember I saw one day, I was up as like, how it ramped up a little bit. I was right over here just talking to some friends. And Smoking Joe Frazier came walking in with a big cowboy hat and this the biggest cigar I ever saw in my life.
Really?
Puffing away. And this was when he was the heavyweight champion of the world. Man, it was the coolest thing. Then to see Sly and his brother Frank, all these other people.
Yeah, right.
It was
That's
like,
when I met Frank. I mean, I'm the one who invited Stallone to come to the club. And then, Frank would tag along all the time. And Sly was working on, I think I met Sly when he was doing Rocky II. That's when he still had Butkus, his dog, at the time.
Oh, my God.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah. So I met them back then. And then also Leon Spinks was a big star back then. I got pictures of him, in the office, stuff like that. But yeah, it was, but no one was afraid that they were going to be, there were some controversial things from some of the paparazzi that were inside once in a while, but they weren't allowed to shoot unless we allowed them to shoot.
Yeah.
So only if they would listen to us were they allowed in the club.
But you know what? It was the music was amazing. The sound system
Was brilliant.
I mean,
Yes.
I remember nights I was just dancing and dancing and dancing and dancing and dancing, and it was fun.
There was no place more for. They'll never recreate that time ever again in not even our lifetime, in anybody's lifetime. It just will never happen again because it was pre-AIDS, number one, right? So people were more free on that level too, and it was also pre cell phones and everything else. So you weren't occupied with, oh, I want to get that shot. Oh, look at someone's over there. You were really in the moment.
Yeah.
You were really in the moment, right? So
I remember Roy brought me down.
God, I didn't realize you
to the
knew.
basement.
Oh yeah.
And I saw how they had the money.
Yeah.
Money.
Well, the money wasn't so much in there was more decadence going on in the basement. And then their offices were up on the second floor. And it is an old wives' tale that they stuffed money into the ceiling.
Oh. Well,
Yeah.
what I saw was they had
petty cash.
But
It
they
was
had
petty
cash and a white van. I saw the door.
Oh, wow.
And they were putting bags of the cash in the
Oh, well,
van.
that's possible.
Yeah, no, that's what I
possible.
saw.
Oh, wow.
They had a room where
Damn.
they had bags of cash.
Wish I was there at that point.
And
I
they-
was sleeping at that point.
But they had the S&M room down there. They had all these.
Yeah.
shit
Oh,
going on.
no question. No,
I mean, it was so crazy.
It was a crazy place.
And I was this,
which is amazing that I never partook in it.
and I was this young bodybuilder, and I'm like from Westchester County, and I'm seeing all this shit going on, you know.
Right?
But you know how Roy was. I mean, he
Well,
was a very powerful guy.
You think? You know, I mean, he seems to have taught some people almost too well. Would you say?
Yeah. Well,
He was definitely Ian and Steve's lawyer, and if you can see it in the documentary, I mean, it was because of him and his not kosher way of doing things that got them a shorter jail sentence. I mean, he was very underhanded in the way he did it, and they ratted on a bunch of people to get out of jail in less time. You know, not a good thing to rat on people, but
you know, Roy Cohen, as you know, was a very, very vicious man.
Vicious.
Now,
Vicious.
we would go out to lunch with Barbara Walters.
Yeah,
and he was the sweetest guy. Barbara was great. He was like,
It's so funny that I never realized that Barbara Walters was good friends with Roy Cohen until 3 days ago when I watched the documentary on Barbara Walters. And she was talking about her friendship with Roy Cohen. I had no idea.
And Trump too.
I know about Trump. He taught him too well.
Right.
Yeah.
So at the time, Roy had a lot of contacts with the family, and
Yes, he did.
He did, and he arranged something for a client that was very, very wealthy, and the client happened to be dating this very beautiful model, and I overheard what they were talking about, and then the very next day it was all over the news that this beautiful model had battery acid thrown in her face. Do you remember that model?
I kind of do.
It was a beautiful woman.
Yes.
And someone ran up and threw.
Yes. Who
okay.
was that? I forgot her name.
And so I the next day I went to his office, and he was talking to someone. I said, I need to talk to you right now, please. He goes, no, but no, not right now. I said, I know what happened to that woman, and I can't work for you anymore.
Oh, wow.
And I said, this will remain between me and you, okay? But I can't condone what you did to this woman.
Wow, so they were responsible for it.
He arranged it.
He what?
He arranged it.
He arranged it.
He arranged it. He got the money. Oh.
Shit. That's
when
even
I
more
said,
wicked than I ever realized.
No, so
that's pretty wicked.
That's when I said,
wow, good for you.
I'm done.
Good for you.
You know, and he never said anything to Steve Rebell. Steve, Mikey, I love you. There's never anything. He knew I said, I'll keep my mouth shut. But I said, I know what you did.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
No, he was raging all kinds of terrible things.
Oh, my God. Well.
And look what it got him.
Well, I don't put it past somebody right now either, but,
and it's so funny. It's like, so when Al Pacino was playing Roy Cohen.
Yes,
right?
in Angels in America.
He knew I knew a lot about Roy. And he wanted me to come on, but the person who wrote it got pissed. Goes, what this guy gonna know? And out goes Mike. If you only knew the shit you knew about him, we really could have had a killer movie, right?
Wow.
I spent all the time I was a shadow, right?
Damn.
And going to parties and events, and
I didn't even realize that so much.
No, we were hanging out with
because I didn't know you back then.
Woody Allen. We were always at Andy Warhol's.
Well, Andy was a good friend. Yeah,
he was a funny guy.
Yeah, he was a great guy.
Yeah, he was
He was all good. He was all good.
But after he got shot?
But
because of what happened with his body and the scarring.
But I pretty much was, because I didn't meet him in the early days. Like, I didn't know him in the Edie Sedgwick days. But I met him, when I started working at studio. And we also went to the same kinesiologist on the Upper West Side for years. And he would always have a little assistant with him, right? And he always had a stack of interview magazines under his arm. And Andy would pass them out, all over the city. But that little boy that he always had with him turned out to be a guy named Wilfredo Rosado, who, after he worked with Andy, ended up working for Giorgio Armani directly as his right hand for years, and then started a jewelry line about 10 years ago. He's doing unbelievable business. Everyone from Mariah Carey to Justin Bieber wears his jewelry. Beautiful, beautiful jewelry. Yeah. And he started off as Andy's little assistant, you know.
But just the fact.
Andy was. He was like, I don't want to say he was quiet, but he was very reserved.
But it was funny. We had been in the studio, and then he'd break out this Super 8, and he kept filming.
Yeah,
he loved to film.
Yeah.
And the movies were ridiculous. I watched the movie, and it was like, it didn't even make sense. But he just like, right? Did you ever see the movies?
Not that many of them, believe it or not.
But, and so one time I was over there with Roy, and he told him that it was. Andy, it was my birthday. So Andy goes, take anything up there. And he goes,
oh, really?
See that right there, that Campbell Soup painting?
He said that to you?
He said it to me, that's yours. And I said, no. I said, come on. I didn't take it.
No.
He goes, it'll be worth a lot of money someday. You make it.
Yeah, you've been right, exactly.
So I said, no, right? So I went home and I said, Ma, I went to this guy, Andy Warhol's studio, and he wanted to give me a painting of a Campbell Soup can. And my mother goes to the cabinet and she goes, look, I got 20 cans. We got enough Campbell Soup.
Oh, God.
Didn't he have anything else? Now I kick myself in the ass.
Right. How much was that?
He had different size ones, right? And he said, take the big one. That's going to be worth a lot of money. And I thought he was nuts at the time.
Listen, I'm so sorry that I was so young back then that I didn't think about collecting art or anything like that. I was looking to have fun because I knew Andy. I have a couple of things from Andy. I have a book that he signed to me. I have Christmas cards that he sent me over the years that he signed. But I should have asked him to do a portrait of me. I mean, who would have known? You know, things like that. But also you have Basquiat and Keith Basquiat and Keith Haring, who also were around back then, you know, because after studio, I worked after Steve and Ian got out of jail and they opened the Palladium, I worked for them at the Palladium also. And on the third floor of the Palladium, the bar area was all designed by Basquiat. And then on the second floor, there was a fun room, like a little maze that you would go through, these little tunnels, and it was all done by Basquiat. I mean, listen, I would have taken a mural. I would have taken a piece of the wall worth a bloody fortune now. Who knew? Yeah. Wasn't thinking like that.
But remember in those days, though, we had Xenons.
I worked at Xenon, too.
I
opened them up.
I used to perform there.
What do you mean? What, bodybuilding?
I used to put on bodybuilding shows.
You're
I was
kidding.
a feature, yeah. And then I featured at Chippendales. I was a feature bodybuilder that came out and did a routine. And the Red Parrot, I was a
Red Parrot,
I'd come down in the cage.
You would?
A girl came down in the cage. I'd come down in the cage. And then we'd meet and we'd do a simultaneously routine. I was a regular.
That's crazy. At the Red
Parrot?
And
it was Lloyd Bloom was booking me for all these events.
I remember the name. Yeah,
right?
That's amazing.
He booked me for all the clubs. I featured at Xenons, and then I did the Underground. I did all these shows.
I worked at so after studio, I opened up Xenon. So Ian and Steve went to that. There was actually before.
Oh, I love that.
I love Xenon, but not as much as studio.
No, of course
Howard
not.
Stein and Peppo Vanini were not my favorite people at the end of the day. So I opened them up. And then I went back to studio and I bought the Superman premiere. They both wanted the Superman premiere and I bought it. I went to studio because I liked them better. I bought the Superman premiere back to studio, the one with Christopher Reeve, right? But Xenon studio, then I worked, I believe it was the Limelight. I worked at the Limelight. I worked for Peter Gatien, worked at the Underground, Rudy Altobelli. And then my friend Steven Greenberg, who was this guy around town, very, eccentric looking guy with long gray hair. He looked like Ben Franklin. And he owned a place called the Roxy Roller Rink. And I opened them up and stayed there for quite a while. Did lots of parties, did parties for the Stones, everything. Wow. Yeah. And then I did a place called Private Eyes, which was mostly gay club, I guess I did. And then I kind of got into, wasn't managing, I was doing publicity. That's when I met Kevin during that time. And one day he said to me, I call you about everything. Why don't you be my manager? And I was like, absolutely. And he was a nobody back then. He had no money. and but I believed in him because I saw him do his off Broadway shows.
What was it true that he was really on the Gong Show?
He was. I wasn't with him at the time, but that is not fiction. That is true.
What I couldn't believe was, I was blown away when he would do those impressions, like Jimmy Stewart. And
that was better than Rich Little, who did it for a living.
100%. And his voice, you did the Bobby Darin movie, right?
Yeah, yes. I was a producer.
I was blown away with his voice.
He studied for, I think he had those, he took the tapes, Bobby Darin tapes, and he would drive around LA or wherever he was. He always had those tapes with him, and he was always singing the songs, and he was taking singing lessons from this guy, Eric Vitro, and he nailed it because Dodd Darin initially didn't want Kevin to do the singing in the movie. He only wanted his father's voice. But then he became very impressed with the way Kevin sounded, and he gave the blessing to have Kevin use his own voice in the movie. And, I stand by that movie. That movie stands the test of time.
I loved it.
Yeah, I think it came out the same time that Jamie Foxx's Ray Charles movie came out, and we were at Lionsgate, and they had a very limited budget for marketing, right? Yeah. If they had a bigger budget for marketing, I think it would have done a hell of a lot better. But everybody who sees it loves the movie.
Now, weren't you involved with the House of Cards when Kevin had that
Absolutely, 1,000%.
Didn't you put that deal together?
I would have to say yes, and I have lots of people that would say that is true, including MRC. But the thing is, it was the very first streaming deal. Streaming had not started yet. And I remember we sat in a meeting, and first of all, Kevin had a deal with, what happened was, we took it to HBO, we took it to FX, and we took it to Showtime. Initially, this is before we got the call from Netflix, right? So they all wanted it. They all offered about the same amount of money, but and then we were in the middle of negotiating an deal with HBO. In the middle of it, okay, we're pretty far into it, and David Fincher is saying, I need at least 6 to tell the story, and HBO kept saying, well, we'll do a pilot and then we'll see if we like it. And Fincher's going, no, you got to let me tell the story. I need it. He wanted 12, but he said, I'll settle for 6, right? So in the middle of that whole thing going down, Fincher gets a call from Ted Sarandis, head of Netflix, basically saying, hey, we hear that you haven't closed your deal at HBO and we're going into the original content business. Can you please, we'd love to pitch you. And so Kevin and everybody, we went to Netflix, and, David pitched the whole thing. And then right away, Ted Sarandis, I don't remember if it was Ted or Reed Hastings, but the two top guys said, we'll do you one better. We guarantee you 26 episodes, pay or play.
Oh my God.
And that's how the deal was born. 26 episodes, pay or play.
Amazing.
And then, I remember there were people from HBO who I will not mention, who executives at the time that said to me, oh, streaming, it's never going to work, because the whole point of Netflix was all episodes drop at the same time. Watch them as you want them. If you want to watch them all in one night, you can watch them all in one night. If you want to watch them one at a time, you can do that too. The way you digest it is up to you. And so that worked great. And Netflix is bigger than ever, except what's happening with the business now, which I don't love, is now all the streamers are pulling back on dropping all the episodes at once.
Right.
Have you noticed that?
I noticed
Okay,
that.
so part of the reason is because they found out that people would come on to, let's say, get a subscription to Netflix, and they want to watch, let's say, House of Cards. So they'll watch all 13 at once and then cancel their subscription.
Oh, okay, got it.
So they wanted to make sure that people can't do that. So they started to not drop all the episodes at once. And the other thing they're starting to find out, which is true, but I don't like it, is the fact that it's a water cooler talk again. So even like with White Lotus, they drop like 2 episodes at a time or whatever. And then it's the topic of conversation for weeks, as opposed to when you watch it, when you want it, then it's not, people are not talking about it as much. Right. So they've changed the formula, which also sort of defeats the purpose of streaming.
Yeah. I like the fact if I want to binge watch it all weekend.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't have to wait 6 to 8 weeks.
So typically, like there's a new Taron Egerton show, I think that's on Apple TV that just dropped, I think called Smoke, right?
Yeah.
But they only dropped 2 episodes. I'm waiting. I'm waiting till they're all done. And then, because I'm not canceling my subscription, I'm just going to wait and watch them all at once.
Hey, it's Mike Torchia. I got great news. My sponsor, Texas Slim Cuts, is providing a line of products for Live Well and Thrive. We're going to have high-quality beef jerky sticks that are high protein, not full of any chemicals and dyes and additives that are toxic to the body. Also, we're going to be offering desiccated liver tablets, high protein, antioxidant. We're also going to have 100% beef protein powder in 3 different flavors. Delicious, mixes easily, and is so smooth to drink. And it can be put into your oatmeal and other beverages if you want to add some flavor. Also, final product that we're going to be launching is a organic butter infused with olive oil. Creamy, great tasting, and spread smoothly over your toast, or you can cook with it too. Nothing that's going to have any kind of toxic ingredients or questionable ingredients. So go to operationfitness.com. Within the next few months, you're going to start to see this whole line of products made by Texas Slim Cuts and the ranches up in Texas, and it'll be under the label of Live Well and Thrive products. Thanks for watching, and thanks again for Texas Slim for sponsoring this show, making it possible. And remember, you need to subscribe to YouTube channel. That keeps my show going. And share the episodes. Thank you. There's a new series that is amazing called The Waterfront.
Yes, I want to see that. Yes. Is it really good?
Unbelievable.
I hear it's as good as Ozark, is what I was told.
Yes.
Because Ozark is one of the best shows I've ever seen.
The cast is great.
Yeah, wow.
And they have that young guy from the Animal Kingdom series.
Oh, I love that series. That was a great series. Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah, it was a great one.
And then they have a few really good notable actors you've seen, but the chemistry with the cast is amazing.
Really? Wow.
I binge watched it. I was like, whoa. I went through the whole season 1 week and I was like, it was like Ozark.
Damn, yeah, Ozark was just, I thought I would never see it. Succession and Ozark, I would say, other than House of Cards, the first 5 seasons, the most spectacular, just so riveting and
Those are my
addicting.
favorite shows.
Right? Just
And
so well done.
Billions.
It looks amazing. I just, once I missed the first season or 2, then I feel like there's too much catch up. Like I watched Breaking Bad finally during COVID. So I was able to binge watch all of it, right? So that was great. But I need to get into Billions because I love Damian Lewis. I think he's amazing.
He's phenomenal. But the whole cast is great. The storyline.
And Paul Giamatti. I mean, Paul Giamatti.
And the fighting between those two are so cool.
Oh my God.
And then the
Such
wife.
great actors, right?
But you have to watch it evolve because you can't skip and then you're lost.
Okay, right, exactly. Well, I find that with a lot of them. Like another one I watched recently that I love was Dope Sick with Brian Tyree Henry. That was
I didn't know what it was. I turned it on. I was like,
that first episode was like, oh my God, you're kidding me, right?
Yeah. Oh,
it's so good. And the other one I loved was The Jackal. Day of the Jackal,
fantastic.
Eddie Redmayne.
Fantastic. I can't wait. It's coming out in about a week.
The next season?
Yeah, I can't wait.
I didn't even realize that, but it's so
that guy's so good.
So he's, right, I think he's one of my favorite actors. I mean, he's just, of the young actors, I think absolutely my favorite.
He was just sensational as that character.
And amazing.
You believe he's his hitman.
Yeah, without question. And the changes, everything, he morphs himself into all those different characters.
Then there's another series about the future that they all get contained in a dome. It's like called Paradise.
I need to watch that.
Oh,
I started it.
That's a psychological thriller. You're trying to figure out who did what. It's
because it goes back and forth, right?
But man, that's
like James Marsden, who I've always had a crush on.
It's amazing. The storyline is beautiful.
Well, I need to get into that because that's Dan Fogelman who did This Is Us. He's the showrunner. He also did.
Dan, he used to represent Kevin, right?
No, that's John Fogelman.
Oh, John.
Yeah. Okay. Dan Fogelman was the showrunner. Created This Is Us. Then
Great show.
Great show. Then he did Paradise is his, but Murders in the Building. is his also. Very talented
Wow.
guy, super talented. Now he's doing one on the NFL. So his next show, they're casting that right now. But yeah, those guys are. He's super talented. I need to watch Paradise.
You'll love it because you think you know what's going on, and then it'll blow your mind. It's totally not what you think.
Wow.
You're trying to figure out who kills the guy, the president.
Yeah, the president, right?
But you're like, no, it's them. No, it's not. And then when you realize it was, you're like, oh my God.
Oh, good.
It's pretty mind-blowing. I can't wait for the next season.
Wow. There's so much good content out there these days, right?
I mean, before I used to, during COVID, there was shit on TV.
Except for Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad was
yeah, right. But
and
no,
Better Call Saul.
And then also a bit of House of Cards. House of Cards was amazing.
It was fantastic.
It was amazing. Season 6, questionable. But that was once Kevin wasn't in it anymore.
What was the highest amount Kevin ever got paid for a movie?
Well, I can't really say on camera, but it was over. I can say it was over $15 million. Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes. Plus back end. Plus first dollar gross on the back end.
Wow.
100%.
Amazing.
Yeah, he was in a good spot, I must say.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember he had the clothing company called Funked, and so all these other businesses he talked about.
I knew he was doing hats and stuff, but I never really saw him. He tried to start a website, and he was going to sell certain merchandise on the website. I don't think it really ever took off, really. I mean, he set it up, but I don't recall it bringing in the money type of thing.
Because I was at when he had that office on La Cienega, Trigger Street.
Yes, Trigger Street.
I remember they were showing sample hats and shirts and things.
Right. So
I don't know whatever happened with it. But I was like, it seemed kind of weird. They almost looked like skateboard clothing or something.
I have no idea, but well, I think everything sort of came to a head where none of that stuff would have worked anymore. Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Well,
he could have, I mean, he absolutely, Kevin was a brand. I mean, he was in a perfect position to be a massive brand.
Yeah.
But, I think in the world we live in today, that's going to be a tough climb.
Yeah. Well, when you fall out of grace, it's...
Well, I think people should be allowed back in, too, depending on what they're guilty of, right? And so in the case of not murdering somebody, right, or really raping somebody, I think that, he should be given a chance. But I think because of big corporations and stuff like that, they have their rules and regulations. It's going to be a tough climb, But then again, I say... this won't be popular, but after that P. Diddy acquittal last week, I'm just blown away by that. And if that guy could end up with only 5 years in prison, when Harvey Weinstein, who's pretty bad, is in prison for the rest of his life, P. Diddy should be in prison for the rest of his life. What he did was beyond despicable.
Yeah, but he has a lot of money.
I understand.
A lot of influence.
So did Harvey.
Yeah, well, I just think that knowing how he is, because for a period of time I trained him.
Oh, okay. Ooh.
And I knew things were happening. That's why I quit working with him.
Okay, good. Smart move.
I went there one time and they...
Smart move.
I was supplying... everything you can imagine. I built his gym, and I had the aquatic instructors, a yoga instructor. I hired his chefs. I was handling everything for his lifestyle.
Wow,
contract.
No baby oil, huh?
No, but he'd say, Mike, he's hang out. We're having a party, right? And I said, well, I could stay for a little while. So then I saw the sea of people coming in. There were Bugattis and all these Lamborghinis, whatever.
Yeah.
And then we were all outside in the back, and they're cooking a feast, and people are drinking, and it's getting loud, and they're over by the pool house. It's getting crazy, shit going on. And I just said, I'm going to go. He goes, no, bro, stay. No, I'm going to go.
Yeah, I'm going to go.
Right? And I had a sense
that the drinks were spiked, maybe?
There was all the major stars there. All of them were there.
Right.
And I just said to myself, I got this gut feeling it's not cool. So
Yeah.
I reached out to his assistant, said, "Listen, I'm done."
Wow.
And I
Smart.
and it was
You're
perfect
smart.
timing. I know. I sensed something was
You
going
were
wrong.
smart. You got away from Roy Cohn. You got away from this guy. That's
No, but
pretty
that's why if I
impressive.
see something that's not right,
Yeah.
I leave.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no,
I don't
"Oh,
blame you because who
I-"
wants to get caught up in that?
And
right?
he was trying to offer me more money. Mike, I'll give you triple. I go, no, I can't, man. I
Yeah,
gotta think
yeah,
of-"
right.
I just move on.
Yeah.
I knew there was something brewing.
Wow.
You know.
You would not have wanted to be part of those freak offs, huh?
No, but I go up into his room and
teasing, right?
and I see all the crazy shit going on, and I started saying to myself, man, I don't belong in this place.
Yeah.
And I just booked, and then after all the shit hit the fan, I was like, wow, thank God I stayed clear.
Yeah, boy.
You know.
I'd say that's some pretty nasty stuff. I mean, it's some of the nasty stuff I've ever heard about in my lifetime.
But I gotta say, everywhere we went, like we'd go to Avra, Usher and him were like this.
Okay. Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
You know? But I noticed as soon as the shit went down, boy, Usher had pushed away like any association with him.
Well, I mean, you almost can't blame him. That's pretty bad stuff, right?
But
When that's
they-
when
they
you
were
when the
s-
video comes out of that beautiful girl who was his girlfriend being beaten to kick.
Well, that was disgusting.
That, I mean, to me, it doesn't get more disgusting than that. You know, to me, that should be enough for jail. But you know, what do I know?
I know, really, with the way he treated her, like so disgusting.
Yeah.
Just-
You know, to me, that's not forgivable to me. But you know, not for me, and I think for a lot of people, that's not forgivable. Right?
Yeah, but you know, it's crazy. He has those videos. He puts it in his safe, and then he would play it for amusement. And that's how they
or
got
to
it.
sell to people by threatening the people that were on the video, right?
I just remember he had that big safe in there, and there was a lot
Wow.
of shit in there,
Wow.
and a lot of guns,
Yeah, a lot of guns.
Yeah, and that's when I started getting spooky. I'm like, you know what happens if this guy flips out?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? This is not a cool situation.
Looks like he had anger management problems to begin with. So
yeah. So, but at least look, they've got him in there for a while,
yeah.
and they're going to be watching that guy after this.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I hope
What do
he
you do?
stays there for a while. I hope the judge is really tough on him because, you know, if I were those people, I'd be afraid. You know?
Yeah.
You know, but I hope he learned his lesson, whatever it is. Not so sure, but hopefully he's not. Well, at least he hasn't been doing. Well, you hope he hasn't been doing drugs.
Well, but at least this is going to
Lockdown.
probably be a wake up call for other people that may still be doing these kind of parties or similar, right? I mean, you got to be careful. You can't, you know.
it's gross. I mean, I mean, there were things that are so shocking to me still, even after hearing them. You know, because couldn't watch the case, but you would hear it on the news, and it's so distasteful and it's so wrong. Everything he did was so wrong, and the manipulation. I mean, I sort of associated the women with Stockholm syndrome. That's how I felt that they must have felt because they were afraid of him. They absolutely were afraid of him, and they were his victims, so they wouldn't go very far.
Yeah, he did have bad temper,
Well,
a very bad temper.
yeah, right.
But again, I was brought up, you never raise your hand to a woman, and I
Well, we love that kind of being.
I when I saw it, I was so sick to my stomach. I was so mad I even ever worked for him because I saw how he brutally beat that girl, and kicked her.
Awful.
I
No
go,
one
"What?"
deserves that.
And I really thought they were going to throw the book at him.
Yeah, I did too. But I mean, you know, I guess then you get into the whole thing about celebrity, right? Like, I mean, I'm curious about those jurors, you know what I mean? Because they obviously were very lenient on him because for me, I did think they approved racketeering charges and they definitely approved sex trafficking. They were in they were in Ibiza, for God's sakes, when he was importing these people in for these freak-offs.
Well, he has a house in Singer Island.
Right, exactly.
And so I was sending chefs there and trainers there.
Oh, wow.
So I know he'd fly a private jet and they'd go out to the Singer Island and call me up, Mike, and he did that. But it was all fitness thing. It wasn't like anything questionable.
Right, well, right.
So I didn't see part of that.
Yeah.
But he was constantly throwing these parties in the Singer Island house, which is
Yeah, and those were as decadent as whenever he was at a hotel, whether it was the Trump Hotel or the place here. There was one of the hotels here.
Knowing you see him, but when you walk in his house,
Yeah,
incredible. His estate was beautiful.
I'm sure.
It was breathtaking.
Well, he had great taste.
He did. He really
had great taste,
and it was so funny.
I mean, in the way he dressed great.
And it was so funny. All his employees were white. Not one black employee. All the security, all the chefs, the manager, all white.
I think there were some people on the stand that were African American,
but
possibly maybe at a different time.
Prostitute. That was all the
yeah. Right.
His daily workers.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah,
but his nighttime, the sex guy and party.
Yeah. I know another person like that who's African American and his whole staff is white. Yes, and wear uniforms.
Yeah. Oh, it was so funny. I felt like I was walking into a hotel.
Yeah, right.
They greet you, but I got to say though, whenever I would be there, I'd be like, Mikey, have her make whatever you want to eat. You use a pool, hang out after. So he was cool about it, but I'm sure that's another side of a person.
Yeah. So you've had some interesting characters in your life.
I know.
Uh-huh.